Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's lecture is going to be a preceding one, and we will continue the previous lecture. Okay. The last lecture we stopped where Robinson Crusoe returned to London, and he got some fortune, right? He got some money because of the work with the captain there. The next chapters, the next 4 chapters, are going to be dedicated to his slavery and the whole travel or the whole journey of his slavery. As we have said before, Robinson Crusoe at the very beginning he was trying to work in slavery. Then he becomes a slave. Then he gains his freedom again and works with the slavery again. So it's a matter, though it is not a very clear topic or very clear theme within our novel, but it is still there, and it is one of the most important ideas planted within the text. So, starting with the summary of the chapters, okay, please pay attention. Robinson Crusoe sets off on another merchant expedition, but this time he is pursued by Moorish pirates he wanted to head to the coast of Salé, okay, in North Africa. But throughout his way there, he was pursued by Moorish pirates, Qarasani, okay. His ship is overtaken and Crusoe is enslaved. Robinson Crusoe are slave. The only Briton among his Moorish masters' slaves. Crusoe is assigned the task of fishing because of his natural skin, and one day the slave's fishing vessel gets lost in a fog, and the master installs a compass on board. The master also stores some gunpowder on board in preparation for shooting party, but the guests do not come. So Crusoe waits. Okay, he's been a slave for 2 years, and Robinson Crusoe now is assigned as the fishing man because of his skill. One of the days, or one of the times, they went to have an expedition for fishing, okay, with the 2 other slaves, a man named Ismail and a boy named Zari, okay, لا تنسون هذول الأسماء. Sneaking up behind Ismail, Robinson pushes him into the water, and Ismail swims alongside the boat and begs to be taken in. Crusoe pulls a gun on him and tells him to return to shore or else be killed. Now we can see that Robinson tries to seize the day or seize the moment by taking the advantage of this fishing board expedition. Okay, first of all, he pushes the man with them, Ismail, and he warns him he has to go back to the shore. On the other hand, or he's going to be killed. Then Crusoe asks Jerry whether he will accompany him and serve him faithfully or not. And for sure, the boy Jerry agrees. By evening, Crusoe calculates they have sailed 150 miles south of Salé, and they see wild creatures on shore that Crusoe recognizes as lions. Crusoe shoots one dead, and he and Jerry skin it. Okay, they hunted one of the lions on the shore, and they proceed southward toward what Crusoe believes are the Cape Verde or Canary Islands. Okay, جزر الكناري. They see naked black people on shore, and they fear them until the natives offer them food. When the Africans witness Crusoe shooting a leopard, they are impressed and they offer the skin to Crusoe. Unsure where to head, Crusoe is surprised by a European ship in the distance. The ship picks up Jerry and Crusoe, and its kind Portuguese captain offers to take them to Brazil. The captain buys Crusoe's boat as well as Jerry. Okay. They could manage to escape. Robinson Crusoe, after 2 years of being a slave, he could manage to escape with Ismail and Jerry, but he pushes Ismail in water and takes Jerry with him after taking his obedience. Okay, they went to the shore, and there where the Africans were there, and for sure we can see here that Robinson Crusoe is kind of showing off. Okay, يستعرض. He was able to shoot a leopard, and he was able to hunt a lion, and so on and so forth. After a while, he met a Portuguese captain, okay, the one who offered to the one that offered to buy Jerry and take the boat as well. Okay, so far this is the most important things to talk about concerning the slavery journey. Okay, now I'm going to just try to highlight the most important quotes concerning all that part. Okay, هسا احنا حكينا السمري، سولفنا بيه وقلنا شنو اللي صار بهذه الفترة. هسه راح نركز على النصوص اللي ركزت على فكرة السليفري. اوكي، الاقتباسات اللي موجودة راح اطلب منكم تقرونها، نشرحها ونشرح السليفري اللي بيها، وبعدين ننتقل للموضوع اللي بعده. او ممكن اذا ما كمل عدد الطلاب ممكن ننتظر المحاضرة القادمة ونكمل الموضوع. Just going to share my screen with you. Okay, so as you can see, throughout the journey when Robinson Crusoe was able to escape from the Moorish pirates, and how things get kind of frustrating and kind of miserable for him, but even though he was able to work on it. So please, I want one of you to read. Who can read this highlighted paragraph?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, please.
دكتور عفوا يا من الكتاب جاي.
هي هاي البروبلم أنا ما أعرفها مصطفى، أنا 18 بالنسخة الثانية اللي عندي 15. أوكي.
دكتورة مين أبلش؟ تغيرت الشاشة.
I know I changed it. Just read the highlighted with the green.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay.
Add this surprising change of my surprising change of my. بس دكتورة كسا جت تحركين هذا الكاميرا.
I'm not. Okay.
Remittance from my merchant to دكتورة يمي الشاشة ضعيفة، لو الكتابة يمك مو واضحة، يعني كل شيء ما جاي أشوف.
Okay, what about now?
دكتورة هي موجودة هاي بالكتاب؟
Of course it is. أكيد.
بس خلي العد طالب يقرأها حد ما أجيب الكتاب مالتي.
Okay, who can read?
العفو ست من أي فقرة؟
فقط هذا اللي محددينه بالأخضر.
ممكن أقرأ ست؟
Okay, what's your name?
حسين علي شاطئ.
Yes, Hussein.
At this surprising change of my circumstance from a merchant to miserable slave,
Yes.
I was perfectly overwhelmed, and now I look back upon my father's prophetic discourse.
Yes.
To me, that I should be miserable and have none to relieve me, which I thought was now so effectually brought to pass, that it could not be worse. That now the hand of heaven had overtaken me, and I was undone without redemption. But alas, redemption. But alas, misery I was to go through, as will appear in the sequel of this story.
Okay.
That's
Thank
enough?
you very much. Thank you very much. So as you can see, the first thing is that he says as will appear in the sequel of this story. Okay. So once again, we have a reminder that this story is written after the journey. Okay. After going back to his normal life, and he was retelling the story of himself. Okay. Number two.
عفوا دكتورة.
Yes.
الصورة ماكو عندي بس صوت.
البقية شنو الوضع يمكن؟
همين أكثر من شخص قالوا لي ماكو.
هي موجودة الصورة.
شلون أطلعها؟
هي تظهر مباشرة.
هي تطلع مباشرة.
موجود بس علامة المايك.
اطلع من البرنامج وبعدين نرجع. ملكة تنحل.
هو أكثر الطلاب ماكو صوت.
Okay, now I'm recording the lecture. After finishing it, I will upload it. So if they have any problem, I think they would be able to solve it by rewatching the recorded one. Okay? Just try to tell them that they can manage this problem just by pressing the blue token of voice. Or I think the mic with the blue color, you can press on it.
دكتورة بس يا صفحة بعد أحمد شاي.
It could be 18, it could be 15. I'm not so sure which kind of copies you are reading with.
بالكتاب صفحة 15 بالكتاب.
Yes.
لقيتها صفحة 15 صحيح.
Okay, very good. الباراجراف الوسط يبدي the usage I had there was not so dreadful. Okay. احنا من نص الباراجراف. At this surprising change of my circumstances from a merchant to a miserable slave, I was perfectly overwhelmed, and now I looked back upon my father's prophetic discourse to me, that I should be miserable and have none to relieve me, which I thought was now so effectually brought to pass, that it could not be worse, that now the hand of heaven had overtaken me, and I was undone without redemption. But, alas, this was but a taste of the misery I was to go through, as will appear in the sequel of this story. The most important theme here, or actually we have more than one theme, but the innate one is the slavery theme. Okay, as you can see here, we have the word slave. Okay, منها وجاي أريدكم تركزون على فقرة إنه الاقتباسات اللي ندرسها. There must be something works as a keyword, whether it is a written word or an idea. هنا كلش واضحة لأنه the word slave is there. So from this paragraph you can understand that we have slavery. Okay, here Robinson Crusoe, and before landing on the island, Crusoe is made a slave, and he recognizes that slavery is the lowest condition for a Christian such as himself. Okay, so the words master, slave are going to be repeated day after day and time after time. So then here I meditated nothing but my and what method I might take to effect it, but found no way that had the least probability in it. Nothing presented to make the supposition of it rational, for I had nobody to communicate it to that would embark with me, no fellow slave, no Englishman, no Irishman or Scotsman there but myself, so that for 2 years, though I often pleased myself with the imagination, yet I never had the least encouraging prospect of putting it in practice. شوفوا هنا استخدام المفردات Englishman, Irishman, Scotsman. Okay, هذول كلهم شنو؟
racism عنصرية.
Okay, we have racism, and on the other hand we have what is called Eurocentrism. Okay, the time by which they were trying to glorify the people who are from Europe. Okay, Eurocentrism. Anyway, look, he used the Englishman, Irishman, Scotsman, all of them by their national or nationality, but the fellow slave. Okay, here we have kind of differentiation. Who are the fellow slaves? Okay, but he could recognize Englishman, Irishman, Scotsman, those who are from Europe. Okay. On the other hand, all the others are considered as fellow slaves. So we can see here that Robinson Crusoe is still using the racist words, or at least he's trying to differentiate between himself and the people who are surrounding him. Okay, and here he tries to explain the way that he was trying to work with. He was trying to find a way to escape, but even though he was not able, simply because it was too hard on him to run away by himself. Okay. Later on, we can see that Robinson Crusoe, after a time, he could manage to escape. Okay. But this time, when he could escape with Jerry, and the Portuguese captain could save him. Okay, he sold the boat and Jerry. Okay، يعني هنا واحدة من اللقطات اللي الصعبة جدا إنه واحد يسوي skip إلها. Okay, who can read this highlighted green paragraph?
ستأقرأ.
Yes.
He offered me also 60 pieces of 8 more for my boy X-ray, which I was loth to take. Not that I was not walking to let the captain have him, but I was very loth to sell the poor boy's liberty, who had assisted me so fly in broking my own. However, when I let him know my Robinson, he owned it to be just, and offered me the medicine that he would give the boy on application to set him free in 10 years. If he turned Christian upon this, and X-ray seeing he was willing to go to him, I let the captain have him.
Okay, thank you very much. So, he offered me also 60 pieces of 8 more for my boy Jerry. انتبهوا لاستخدام المفردات. Okay, my boy Jerry, which I was loath to take. Not that I was not willing to let the captain have him, but I was very loath to sell the poor boy's liberty, who had assisted me so faithfully in procuring my own. However, when I let him know my reason, he owned it to be just, and offered me this medium, that he would give the boy an obligation to set him free in 10 years if he turned Christian. Upon this, and Jerry saying he was willing to go to him, I let the captain have him. إذن شو سوى؟ سوى مقايضة. أنت يعني reasonably, okay, before a while you were a slave and planning to escape, right? And now when he had the time or the chance to set others free, he made a bargain that Jerry would be free in 10 years if he turned to be a Christian. Okay, this is something very hard to deal with, and actually it is not accepted. So here Crusoe doesn't actually sell Jerry to the captain, but instead they strike a bargain. Jerry is to be kept in indentured servitude for 10 years, and if he converts to Christianity, he will be set free. We kind of wonder if the captain keeps his word there, okay? You cannot make sure whether he is going to set him free really or not. But as you can see, things are just working as if Robinson Crusoe deals with Jerry as if he was a thing, okay? Not a person. He sells, he bargains, he asks, he orders, and all the time the others have to submit to Robinson's will, okay? This is and later on, and through all this time, Crusoe is making kind of meditation, okay? Who can read this blue highlighted paragraph?
نعم ست.
Yes, please.
In this manner I used to look upon my condition with the utmost regret. I had nobody to converse with, but now and then this neighbor, no work to be done but by the labor of my hands, and I used to say I live just like a man cast away upon some desolate island that had nobody there but himself. But how just has it been, and how should all men reflect, that when they compare their present conditions with others that are worse, heaven may oblige them to make the exchange and be convinced of their former felicity by their experience. I say, how just has it been that the truly solitary life I reflected on in an island of mere desolation, sorry?
Yes.
Should be
my lot.
Okay. Who had so often unjustly compared it with the life which I then led, in which had I continued, I had in all probability been exceeding prosperous and rich.
Okay, so as you can see, all the time Robinson Crusoe tries to think of what he had done, tries to meditate the circumstances, the atmosphere he is facing, the things he is going through, to which extent his life is changing. So all the time he's questioning his life to maintain the right and accurate way to make things right, okay? But as usual, when everything is calm and settled, Robinson Crusoe thinks of richness, and when everything is bad and chaos, he tries to think of repentance and going home. Of slavery, here we can see Robinson says, so that I might say I had proceeding with the idea of slavery. here we can see Robinson says, so that I might say, I had more than 4 times the value of my first cargo, and was now infinitely beyond my poor neighbor. I mean, in the advancement of my plantation, for the first thing I did, I bought me a Negro slave and a European servant also. I mean, another besides that which the captain brought me from Lisbon. So, look, here the Portuguese captain offered Robinson to have a work in Brazil, okay? So they started working in a plantation, okay? بدأوا يشتغلون بمن؟ بالزراعة, sugar plantation. But look, when everything turns good with Robinson, now he says, I did bought me a Negro slave and an European servant. شنو رأيكم بهاي المفردات المستخدمة هنا؟
مفردات عنصرية.
Slavery and racism.
Slavery and
racism.
Okay.
Okay. عبودية عنصرية.
Okay, why is that? Is there any differentiation between the two words or the two terms?
Yes, because the slave and European.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
دكتورة بس الطالب أحمد محمد كاظم شارك فتحت كاميرا ما تبين فادنا.
Okay, please. The problem is I just don't want to stop the recording. Anyway, Calvin, who was talking? Calvin?
Yes, دكتور. طالب أحمد محمد كاظم فاتح كاميرته.
كاظم راح أخليك وياي حتى أنت تقدر من يمك تتحكم تغلق المايكات أو تغلق
تمام دكتور.
الكاميرا مالتهم. You are going to be my co-host, okay?
Yes, دكتور. Thanks.
Okay, now you are a host with me. Okay, Calvin? Please try to manage things.
Yes, doctor. Thanks.
You're welcome.
العفو ستختفى الشير.
Yes, Mohammed, because I started just to make Calvin a host with me. Now we are proceeding with the lecture, okay? Yes, so once again, we can see that the racist words, in addition to the differentiation between the Negro slave and the European servant, okay? Now we are totally aware of Robinson's ways to evaluate things. Now we have an affirmative, approved way of thinking or point of view that Robinson Crusoe is not just trying to deal with people injustice, but instead he has that colonizer's taste, okay, or that colonizer's way of trying to handle everything using racist words. He makes a differentiation between people according to their colors or their nationality, right? So in this paragraph, Crusoe pays a Negro slave for the maintenance of his plantation. However, that the European in his service is not referred to as a slave, but as a servant, which is another example of Eurocentrism at work. Okay, once again here we are mentioning the idea of Eurocentrism. Okay، بصورة عامة فكرة اليوروسنترزم هي throughout the 18th century they were trying to glorify the European countries. Okay, so as a result the people who are living there are glorified as well, but the English people in the first place, the Europeans follow them, and the other people or other nations are following them. Is it clear?
Clear.
Clear, yes.
Do I need to repeat it?
No, Doctor.
Okay. Robinson Crusoe now is working in a plantation. He has slaves, okay? He has servants, and now he is planning to go to Guinea where they can bring another slaves. He's going to head an expedition to Guinea in order to bring slaves from there. Let us see what's going there, or what this paragraph tells us. Who can read it?
نعم ستقرأ.
Yes, if you can, please.
Okay. And after enjoying the third sight, they told me that they had a mind to fit out a ship to go to Guinea, that they had all plantations as well as I, and were straight for nothing so much as servants, that as it was a trade that could not be carried on because they could not publicly sell the Negroes when they came home, so they desired to make but on voyage to bring the Negroes on shore privately and divided them among their own plantation. And in a word, the question was whether I would go there supercargo in the ship to manage the trading part upon the coast to Guinea, and they asked me that I should have my equal share of the Negroes without producing any part of the stock.
Okay. This was a fair proposal to me. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much, Shahla. And after enjoying my secrecy, they told me that they had a mind to fit out a ship to go to Guinea, that they had all plantations as well as I, and were straitened for nothing so much as servants, that as it was a trade that could not be carried on, because they couldn't publicly sell the Negroes when they came home. So they desired to make but one voyage, to bring the Negroes on shore privately and divide them among their own plantations. And in a word, the question was whether I would go there supercargo in the ship to manage the trading part upon the coast Guinea, and they offered me that I should have my equal share of Negroes without providing any part of the stock. This was fair proposal. So here we have a group of merchants and planters ask Crusoe to take part in a scheme in which he is sent to Guinea to collect slave labor. In return, he'll get his own wealth in Brazil, or his own share of slaves. Crusoe later refers to as a fair proposal, okay? And Crusoe's wealth and appraisal is dependent on this kind of labor. So as we can see that Robinson's, before I proceed in, what do you think? Which theme is there? Or what kind of themes we can find here? In this quote, and why?
I think slavery because we Negro.
Excellent, Zainab. Thank you very much. Okay, so once simply because of the use of these keywords like Negroes, okay? Negroes all the time. So there is a reference to different classes, okay, or to different colors, different ways to treat with what we call servants, or at least they call it servants, but later on they are Negroes, okay? So this way of dealing with things is actually what makes Robinson Crusoe so much attentive to the idea of slavery and of being slave, okay? Then he accepts to go within this ship, and he heads to Guinea again in order to bring slaves, okay? In order to bring slaves, okay? For his misfortune, okay, and for the reader's astonishment, there is going to be a very hard shipwreck, and there Robinson Crusoe would lose almost everything, but when he awakes the next morning, he finds himself alone on a deserted island. It was called the Island of Despair. Okay, all the crew staff were not there, only Robinson on the shore, and the ship is sinking, and he tries to get things out of it. Okay. هنا تبدي الرحلة، تبدي الحياة أو الرحلة الحقيقية لروبنسون لما يكون وحده على الجزيرة بعد ما يخلص من رحلة السليفري أو رحلة trading with the slaves. Okay, so as a concluding remark concerning this journey of Robinson Crusoe with the slavery, we can say that though the story doesn't explicitly revolve around the slavery, the institution of slavery serves as a basis for much of the action of the novel. And when Crusoe heads to Africa, it is to purchase slaves. He himself becomes a slave and then soon becomes a slave owner. This idea of ownership and superiority impacts his relations with such people as Jerry and later on Friday. Plus, Crusoe's wealth from his sugar plantations at the end of the novel would have come from slave labor. اليوم هي كلها تخص السليفري. اوكي، الاقتباس السادس والمهم جدا هو اللحظة اللي يلتقي بها روبنسون بفرايداي بالdeserted island. Okay, there is going to be so much to take care of, and the next lecture inshallah is going to be dedicated to the rest of the actions in the novel. We are going to give a general summary concerning the life of Robinson at the island before he meets Friday and after meeting Friday, also to discuss the theme of colonization and to conclude the lecture with the end of the novel. And actually this is going to be your material for this semester. Okay, anyway, do you have any questions concerns today's lecture? I know things are fuzzy so far, and but this is it. This is what the time we have in order to cover most of the important material. And you are supposed to read it, and we had to read about the text. But together, and because of the lack of time, I'm trying to summarize and focus on the important quotes. Hopefully, it is good enough for you. So, do you have any questions?
دكتورة بس سؤال رحمة والديك.
Yes, please.
أنا صار لي تقريبا 7 سنين من عفت الدراسة بس رجعت.
نعم.
السؤال هو مثلا من يجي سؤال على السليفري على العبودية إنه أكتب أنا اللي من صار هو عبد لحد ما قام يمتلك العبيد وأحكي هذا كله لو يجي سؤال خاص يعني أقل؟
تعتمد على طبيعة السؤال. أوكي، طبعا بالمناسبة هذا اللي أنا حكيته كله لكم واللي حددته كله والكومنت اللي انطيتكم إياه هو already أنا مسويت لكم عليه فايل وأبلود
صحيح
موجود بالكلاس روم. أوكي،
شفت دكتورة أي موجود نفسه.
فهذا كله هو شرح اللي أنا الشيء أصلا مطيتكم إياه، فما عندكم إشكال من ناحية المادة. تبقى طبيعة السؤال. ممكن أجيب لك إذا جاي تشوف السكرين، ممكن أجيب لك هذا الاقتباس. أوكي، وأقول لك comment on the following quote. هنا أنت شنو يصير شغلك؟ number one, you are trying to explain the scene. أوكي، تشرح لي الموقف شنو، هذا المشهد شنو شنو اللي وصل روبنسون لهذا المكان. أوكي، أوكي هاي تخلص من عندها زين. شنو المهم بهذا الاقتباس؟ ليش هو مهم؟ راح نقول لي أكو slavery. شلون عرفنا slavery؟ because the use of the word servants, negroes, the way Robinson deals with the things, right? And he wants to bring slaves. So this is a reference to what? This is a reference to slavery, right? يبقى الباراجراف الأخير إنه أنت تعطيني your own perspective. طبعا أنا مطيتكم البرسبكتيف مقدما، تريدون تحفظونه مثل ما هو، تريدون أنتوا تحجون وياكم it's up to you. إنه أوكي هاي الرواية هي قد لا تكون محورها الأساسي السليفري، لكن السليفري موجودة، والدليل إنه روبنسون he worked in slavery and then he became a slave and later on he became a slave owner. مو صحيح؟ فبهاي الطريقة مو بس هذا الاقتباس، كل الاقتباسات أول شيء تشرحون الاقتباس، بعدين شنو الفكرة اللي موجودة بالاقتباس على يا أساس حددتوا هذا الثيم مثلا، بعدين تشرحوا لي الثيمة شنو. ممكن يجي السؤال بهاي الطريقة، وممكن السؤال الثاني إنه لا احكي لي عن السليفري برواية روبنسون كروسو. لما أقول لك احكي لي عن السليفري برواية روبنسون كروسو، بذاك الوقت راح ترجع للثيمة نفسها اللي موجودة بالكلاس روم introduction، وبعدين تنطيني أمثلة عن المواقف اللي بينت بيها السليفري. ما تحفظون الاقتباس. إذا بعدك وياي الاقتباس ما تحفظونه، وإنما تحفظون المواقف اللي صارت بيها references للسليفري.
صحيح دكتورة. بس سؤال ثاني.
تفضل.
راح تبقى عندي مشكلة بس بالإملاء، يعني الإملاء ما يعني تعرفين شوية أكو كلمات وها يعني ما مر عليها، فراح يصير بي أغلاط إملائية.
هذا راح يبقى دورك إنه من تقرأ لازم تخلي يمك ورقة وقلم والمفردات الجديدة تكتبها حتى ما تنساها. هاي من ناحية ثانية إذا أنتوا بالامتحان أعتقد يصير عندكم تعديل بالوورد، إذا تستخدمون وورد بالإجابة فالوورد بتعديل أعتقد أو suggestions. فكل الأحوال أنا ما أحاسبكم 100% على الجرامر والسبيلينج، بس أكو مفردات مستحيل أتهاون عنها. مثلا روبنسون كروسو نفسها إذا مكتوبة خطأ، السليفري، colonialism، individuality، يعني هاي المفردات هي الأساسية اللي إحنا جاي نشتغل عليها بالرواية. إذا هاي المفردات خطأ فأكيد تتحاسب عليها، فهني. لكن أحيانا إنه بصياغة الجمل أو بصياغة الإجابة ممكن تعبر عليك كلمات ناسي السبيلينج مالتها. It's okay. يعني after all we are all learning and we are not native speakers. أنا
قصدي إنه مو ذاك الحساب، يعني إنه بحيث تصير الجملة إذا فيها غلط تصير غلط أو شيء.
أكو حساب، بس إنه أكيد إذا الفكرة موجودة مستحيل راح تجيك صفر لأنه كاتب خطأ.
أوكي.
فهمتني؟ Okay. You're welcome. What about the others? Do you have any questions?
No, that's clear.
Okay, I hope so. So for the next lecture, we are going to proceed to explain the theme of colonization or colonialism, and to conclude the whole material of the novel of Robinson Crusoe. If you have any questions, any concerns, please let me know. Try to write your own questions, your comments within the link that I am going to the comments box within the link that I am going to share with you just after finishing this lecture, okay? Because this one is a recorded one, just to make benefit of it to all of you. This is all what I've got for today. Have a nice weekend, and please stay safe and sound, and see you all next lecture, inshallah. Thank you for joining the lecture.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.